You probably haven't heard of Doggerland or the people that once lived there. This submerged landmass located in what is now the North Sea is believed to be the likely origin for the myth of Atlantis. Atlantis, the legendary lost city that has captivated our imagination for centuries, probably was actually a real place that once existed. Take a look at this map. Notice anything missing? Well, there is a country/landmass missing from this map that is still hidden below the sea. Now known as Dogger Bank, this shallow area of sea is now being developed into the world's largest offshore wind farm, which is projected to be able to power 6 million homes once completed. An interesting display of irony being that some of humanity's most advanced technology is being built on what could be the remnants of the mythical land of Atlantis. Now, before you dismiss this as just another wild theory, let's take a look at some compelling evidence. Doggerland, which was submerged around 8,000 years ago due to rising sea levels, was once a fertile land. It stretched from what is now the east coast of England to the west coast of Denmark. Connecting the British Isles to mainland Europe, it was a home to an ancient civilization that thrived for thousands of years. So, how does Doggerland relate to Atlantis? Let's take a look at some of the similarities. According to the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, who first described Atlantis in his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, the lost city was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which are believed to be the Strait of Gibraltar. If we take a look at a map, we can see that Doggerland is situated beyond this point. And there was an island situated in front of the straits, which are by you called the Pillars of Heracles. The island was larger than Libya and Asia put together, and was the way to other islands. And from these you might pass to the whole of the opposite continent, which surrounded the true ocean. We should bear in mind that this was more than 2,000 years ago, when modern topographical maps and an understanding of the continents had not been yet established. And people had a rough idea of what the continent of Europe looked like, with only the Mediterranean Sea and nearby areas being well known to the Greeks. Plato also described Atlantis as a powerful and advanced civilization that was highly developed in both technology and culture. It was said to be a utopian society with grand architecture and a sophisticated political system. Interestingly enough, archaeological evidence suggests that Doggerland was also home to humans who were advanced in their own right at the time, being successful hunters with a range of harpoons, bison bones, and other archaeological pieces showing us glimpses of their lives. Furthermore, Plato describes Atlantis as a naval power that sought to conquer other lands. This aligns with the geographical location of Doggerland, which would have made it a strategic hub for trade and maritime activities. Its position in the North Sea would have allowed for easy access to both the Atlantic Ocean and the Baltic Sea, making it an ideal location for a seafaring civilization. As far as Plato's descriptions of the landscape of Atlantis, he goes on to say that Atlantis is an island consisting mostly of mountains in the northern portions, along the shore and encompassing a great plain in an oblong shape in the south. If we look at a topographical map, it shows this in quite convincing fashion. But how did Doggerland end up beneath the waves? Well, around 8,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, sea levels were much lower, as much of the Earth's water was stored as ice. This meant that much more land existed for humans to move around and live on. With the end of the ice age, global sea levels began to rise rapidly. This, in addition to two massive disasters, caused vast areas of land to be submerged. As glacial ice melted in what is modern-day Canada, a massive freshwater lake called Lake Agassiz formed. This lake was approximately the size of the Black Sea, and approximately 8,500 years ago, when its ice walls melted, it suddenly dumped an entire sea of water into the Atlantic Ocean, raising global sea levels dramatically over a very short space of time. On the other side of the world, the lower parts of Doggerland became submerged, and it now resembled an island, much like Atlantis is described to have been. The second and by far the most dramatic of these events is called the Storegga Slide, the third largest submarine landslide in known history. The Storegga Slide was a massive underwater landslide that occurred off the coast of Norway around 8,000 years ago. The resulting tsunami caused by the slide is believed to have had disastrous effects on the landmass known as Doggerland, which was mostly a low-lying area. This was caused by the cataclysmic collapse of Norway's northern continental shelf, a whopping 290-kilometer long submarine structure. This can be equated to the entire coastline of Oregon suddenly falling into the sea. This caused a tsunami to wash over the island and for the sea to claim it completely. But afterwards there occurred violent earthquakes and floods, and in a single day and night of misfortune, all your warlike men in a body sank into the earth, and the island of Atlantis, in like manner, disappeared in the depths of the sea. Imagine your entire country being destroyed overnight by a wall of water plunging it into the sea, causing it to be forever submerged, never to see the light of day again. This cataclysmic event would have been devastating for the inhabitants of Doggerland, forcing them to abandon their homes and seek refuge elsewhere. These people most likely fled southward and possibly migrated all the way down to what is now modern-day Greece, along with the stories of the dramatic destruction of their home island. Over time, their once thriving civilization would have been forgotten, eventually giving rise to the myth of Atlantis. The story passed down from generation to generation of a sunken island homeland that fell into the sea many thousands of years ago, probably heard by Plato and interpreted into the stories we now have of Atlantis, which he spoke about as being a real place that had existed and had sunk into the sea. Perhaps Plato was unaware of his own Atlantean ancestry. The idea that the Greeks themselves may unknowingly be the descendants of Atlantis has some compelling logic and evidence. Ancient Greeks were not the original inhabitants of Greece, and in fact were the result of migrations and invasions from northern tribes moving down south from Central and Eastern Europe. One such invasion, the Dorian invasion, caused an almost complete replacement of the native people of the areas with the Greek-speaking Indo-European invaders. So, The next time you hear someone mention Atlantis, remember that there may be more to this myth than meets the eye. Doggerland, with its sunken cities and forgotten history, could hold the key to unraveling what is one of the greatest mysteries of all time. And who knows what other secrets lie beneath the waves. Perhaps there are more lost civilizations waiting to be discovered. While we may never find definitive proof that Doggerland is Atlantis, it's important to keep an open mind and explore possibilities of the vast areas of land that are now submerged, but were once viable land humans almost certainly lived on. After all, history has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. Fragments of Neanderthal skulls have been found on the island, and the people living there may have been human-Neanderthal hybrids with much higher amounts of Neanderthal DNA than those of humans in mainland Europe, with a more concentrated cut-off population. If this is something that interests you, take a look at my video talking about how humans interacted with Neanderthals when we first moved into Europe, and the resulting dwarven mythology that most likely originated from them.